Okay, so yeah, obviously it's just been a few weeks, so this is pretty much just a bit of a preview to the work that's perhaps going to come later in the CPC project. So I'm just going to talk about one of the data sets that Trevor introduced earlier on, which is the GPS traces of police vehicles. So as a quick recap, so this is the transmissions of all the police vehicles, and I'm just looking at Camden at the moment, and they are transmitting every 15 seconds. So if we just sort of visualise that on a map, that's like all of the data over 1 month. I've plotted in green there the locations of the 5 police stations in that borough. And you can see there's obviously the police are visiting majority of the streets in Camden there. So the first sort of thing I thought I'd have a quick look at was where did police vehicles stop? My kind of motivations here were, firstly, I kind of thought, well, this might indicate where the crimes occur, based on police are going to be dispatched to certain areas where the crimes are reported. So I thought that's going to be, hopefully, some indication. Also thought that perhaps this might be an indication of where the police are expecting crimes to occur, where they might go and wait in case of something that could be something that they're preempting. But it could also be just where they're getting stuck in traffic, because obviously they're going to have to stop for traffic lights and various other things. So looking at the same visualization again, we've just stripped out all the points where the speed is greater than 0. So obviously it's a very similar sort of visualization. Doesn't really tell us much more information really. So if we kind of look at this kind of KDE idea of trying to plot the density of these spots, see if that tells us a bit more information. Well, I think what that tells us is that the police often stop at the police stations. Doesn't tell us a lot, really. But it does tell us that they stop at 3 out of the 5 police stations more than the others. Perhaps this is where the police vehicles are originating. There are some other areas which are higher density, but for now, that doesn't tell us a lot. We need to perhaps revisit that. So that's just looking at a kind of very static analysis of the data. Now, if we kind of visualize, we can actually look at obviously it's a temporal data set. We can start looking at this in a sort of more temporal, interactive sort of way. So on the left there, you can see the same visualization, but with the, as it's stepping through each time step, the police vehicles moving around the streets. And then on the right, again, but they're leaving a trace behind where they've visited, so you can actually start to build up a pattern of where they are. And this is sort of fading over time. Perhaps I can just sort of skip later on. So we can sort of start to see there's a bit of a build up there. And if you sort of scan through this, you can probably start to see certain roads where the police are revisiting more frequently than others. So obviously there's popular routes. And it brings up this idea of that there may be some sort of routing patterns that the police are following. So just to sort of finish off, I'll just sort of give some ideas of where we might look in the future. Obviously, I'm going to develop these probably by talking to some of the people here today and my collaborators. But obviously, where the vehicles stop, that needs to be looked at a bit closer. Perhaps look at the end of tracks rather than just where the speed is 0. And try and identify the destinations to give us a bit more insight into what's going on there. And cross-reference this with some of the other data sources that we've been provided with, such as the crime reports and crime reporting. And also perhaps to look at patterns in routing behaviours, to look at how the police are actually moving around, see if there's different behaviours for different tasks that they're assigned to, and various other things like that. Okay, thanks very much.